Banks are issuing money out of nowhere. The mistakes that people make when they hear this and they still think it's okay. Financial assets, they're just crap. They're symbolic, but they're not actual things of value. Take someone's tap water in Italy, put it in a bottle, ship it across an ocean of water. We're here in the studio, Euphonic Sound, in the studio, which is very exciting because we're going to have people in here. We're going to have musicians in for interviews. We haven't done that yet, but we're going to, and it's going to be very exciting.
Tell them, Remy.
This week on the show, we're going to talk about fallacies. We're going to talk about the mistakes in reasoning that people make to justify the system that they've heard. Because there's a lot of people, you know, maybe you haven't heard it yet, maybe you haven't been watching the show, maybe you haven't been watching many other sources of media out there that are telling you this these days, but banks issue money from nowhere, and they issue it to us, they issue it to the government, and we pay interest on it. And the poorer you are, the more interest you pay. The poorer your country is, the more interest it pays. So the entire world is structured around interest rates, where the people who have the most get basically limitless free credit, free money. They can issue themselves as much money as they want, whereas the rest of us are only allowed to have this little bit that's doled out to us, and then we pay it back in taxes like crazy, because that is the biggest expense for any government in the world, is the interest payments on these phony baloney debts that they have. This episode, we're going to talk about the fallacy. We're going to talk about the mistakes that people make when they hear this and they still think it's okay.
World.
The first fallacy is that humans are inherently evil, and that the less of us have access to resources, and the less of us that are developed and capable, the better, because we're all evil, and if we all had access to a reasonable amount of power, we would tear each other apart.
That's whack!
I've heard this many times. Humans are inherently evil. Despite the fact that, you know, in the media, when they want to convince you of something, they take it to the lighter side, they take it to the sympathetic, emotional side, because that is the type of media that works. So somehow these people who are inherently evil are manipulated and convinced of things if you pull at their heartstrings. That it all doesn't make sense. I know human beings aren't inherently evil. It's crap. Sure, there are evil human beings. Absolutely, there are bad people out there. But as a whole, as the mass, no, human beings are not. We are sympathetic. Now this fallacy that human beings are evil, this one is pretty prevalent at the top. I think the global elites believe in this, and they believe that they themselves are the saviors of humanity, that humanity would tear itself apart. So they're maintaining the security of the world by being a small group that, you know, rapes and pillages all over the world, but they maintain control, and it's better than the lack of control that you could get. People are f***ed up. It's a God mentality. They think that they're better than everyone else, and that for whatever reason, whatever bloodline that they're attached to, that somehow gives them the innate ability to govern humanity, and that it's their place to do that. But it's just a bunch of numbers. It's a bunch of stupid numbers on a computer. That's what's given them the authority to govern. A bunch of numbers on a computer. Within the police, there have to be police who want to break ranks. But this idea that humans are inherently evil just gets fueled by what happens when police go out and beat protesters and such. Because really, they're going to see their fellow police officers, the moral cop, the moral police officer, the one that doesn't like to see suffering, is appalled by what he sees his colleagues do. It fuels that idea that, hey, yeah, human beings really are evil. If we were to give everyone the same amount of power that the police force has, we'd have all kinds of people wearing black outfits with sticks beating people in the streets. The moral police officer has his convictions strengthened that, yeah, it may be bad the way they're doing things, but it's better than the alternative to open up power, to open up authority and let everyone have input. It's better than that. Okay, the second fallacy is that you can't trust government. Now, the disposition on the first one, that humans are inherently evil, I think that goes with good intentions. It may be completely delusional, but I think that there are good intentions. Now, the second fallacy, that you can't trust government, this one could go either way. It could be good intentioned, it could be bad intentioned. And this comes from libertarians, this comes from people who believe in freedom, but they've taken it to the point where freedom means you dismantle the government completely.
Nah, seriously, I don't understand.
you can't have freedom unless you have a sound currency and you have a rigid legal system that can come in and enforce that people are playing fair with each other. If you don't have a sound system, you can't have freedom, you can't have what libertarians are looking for. The point of view where it's with bad intentions might come from business and wider. There's this stigma that government is always going to be inefficient, and that if it's government, we need to cut it. We need to get rid of it if it's government, whatever it is, because it's inefficient. But there are certain things that need to be done inefficiently, that need to be done by the state because no one else can do it and provide it in a free manner. It has to come from something that all of us own, that all of us have access to. And the state is the only thing that we all have access to. And the third fallacy that comes out when you hear that banks are issuing money out of nowhere and you're still trying to justify this, you're still trying to make sense of it, the third fallacy comes from a position of low morality and bad intentions. The people with bad intentions believe that there's suffering going on in other parts of the world, but that we benefit from it here, that somehow that suffering turns into profitability, turns into prosperity for us. But this is all bullshit. Leveling of nations' wealth. So poor nations are getting closer to rich nations. But in every country in the world, there is a widening of the gap between poor and rich. So it's irrelevant that nations are leveling out. That doesn't mean that people are having more access to things. It means that in rich countries, there's less of a middle class, that there are more poor people than there used to be. These people that are living in these Western nations, they haven't realized yet that the colonial musket has been turned. It used to be pointed at people in third world nations, it's still pointed at them, but now it's being pointed at us as well. You can look at evidence of this. They'll try to spin it in a way that sounds positive, like the fact that there are more women in the workforce. They say, oh, that's a product of freedom. We have more women, more opportunities for women. But if you look at the statistics, we just have more women in the workforce because families need 2 incomes now. You can't survive on one income. If you want to show me progress, show me that there are more women in the workforce, but there's also less men. That we still have single income families that can afford a home and a couple cars, and only one parent needs to work and the other one can stay home and watch the kids. We're not seeing that. We're seeing women in the workforce because they can't make ends meet. Exceptions to these fallacies are people who have seen the system, they understand the system, and they just want it. Not because they understand how it's actually working. These are racists, rapists, tyrants. These are the people who understand the system, understand what it's doing to the world, and still want it because they're not tied on any of these 3 fallacies that make it sound kind of nicer. They know how dirty and evil the system is, and they want to continue it. These are the worst people in society. They're not delusional. They know exactly what they're doing.
News fail.
A quick news fail this time. I just grabbed something from Reuters. It assumes that financial assets are of value, that there's something valuable behind a financial asset.
What?
So we're not talking about land, we're not talking about labor, we're not talking about consumer goods or products of any sort. We're just talking about financial assets, these things that are written on computers, they're written on paper, they're just crap, they're symbolic, but they're not actual things of value. They're saying from Reuters that these financial assets that rich people have taken, they're hiding in these foreign banks and things, that these are of actual value, and that the way we save the system, that we get rid of this black hole in the economy, is to take this money that rich people have hidden in foreign banks and we tax them for it. You're going to tax the rich to solve the system? You're just lending legitimacy to those financial assets. You're saying, yes, that piece of crap, that piece of paper that you have in a vault somewhere, or that computer that has a number on it is a thing of real value and that we need to respect it. But no, there's no value there. There's no cash is nothing. It's just this crap that's printed out of nowhere. Maybe to save Reuters a little bit here, you might say that, well, they're using terminology that is legitimate business and political terminology. So they're just using the terms that are already there. But I mean, the news media creates the terminology that we use. They're constantly recreating the language. They're the ones that keep throwing these words at us, that say things like financial asset. They're the ones that keep pushing this on us, that these things are assets, that they are actual things of value. That's coming from them.
Consume.
Okay, consume. On to the consume part of the show. Look, Chris here today. Chris is helping out. Thanks, Chris. We're gonna look at some bottled water. You remember when there was the whole the bottled water came out, and all the companies, oh, you gotta buy bottled water. It's natural spring water or whatever crap it is, and it's really just tap water from the next county that they put in a bottle and they send it over to you. Even when they say it's spring water, well, it's a spring that they're using for someone's tap water. You get water from France. You get water from Italy. You take someone's tap water in Italy, put it in a bottle, ship it across an ocean of water, and then half a continent to get to here in Toronto, and it's just water. It's just they were drinking it. Now we're drinking it. Scam of this bottled water is out. People know, and it's got this stipulation now that this is a extremely wasteful, useless consumer product. So it had to be rebranded. It's sparkling water now, right? Back in the day, it was carbonated water. You would call club soda. It was just this water in a bottle that had carbonation. You'd mix it with booze, or you'd clean your sweater with it or something, but it wasn't a drink that you would walk around drinking. That's crazy. Who would drink water with carbonation in it? But sparkling water, oh, sparkling. Now it's delicious. It's like drinking champagne or something. We can put it in a fancy glass and walk around at a party. Oh, look at me, I'm drinking sparkling water. They wanted to make sure that there was water, and then there was, you know, this fancy thing like Perrier or other, there's Italian ones with a fancy frickin' name on it. It's just water. This branding of sparkling water has been ingrained. We don't look at this as water anymore. This is a fancy drink. You don't clean a sweater with it. You drink this. It's fancy. Now it's secured enough that those lesser brands, the no-name brand, the grocery store brands, they can finally come out with sparkling water, and it's legitimate because, you know, they may have a lesser branding, but the product itself has been established as something premium. So it's okay for those lesser brands to use it now. If they'd used it earlier, they would have killed it, and we still would have looked at it as club soda.
Culture!
Culture! This is the culture section of the show. Jim Smetchland, your euphonic sound. We're gonna do another song by Remy Stevens. Again, of course, Remy Stevens. This time... No, I don't think we'll do this song. No, this is not the song we're going to do. I'm going to edit, put into this episode a little bit of a piece from years ago performing a... This is an old Who Is Remy Stevens. This is the Remy Review. Phonic Sound.